The Red Sox exploded for 14 runs and 4 homers to extend their winning streak, headlining a full 15-game slate that saw shutouts, a walk-off-flavored comeback in Colorado, and big nights all over the National League. The Orioles held on for 3-1 win over the Angels behind another strong start from Cade Povich, who worked 6 shutout innings while striking out 7 to pick up the win. Baltimore's offense didn't need much. Tyler O'Neill provided the key blow with a solo home run, and Pete Alonso, Colton Cowser, and Kobe Mayo each chipped in a hit to help build the cushion. Christian Franklin added a stolen base to keep the Angels' defense honest on the bases. Los Angeles managed to run and got hits from 6 different players, including Mike Trout, Zach Neto, Travis d'Arnaud, and Moises Ballesteros, but couldn't string together enough offense to threaten. Yennier Cano slammed the door with a clean inning for the save, sealing it for Baltimore. It was a professional, low-drama win for the O's, no long ball barrage, no ninth-inning theatrics, just a shutdown starter and just enough offense to get the job done against a scuffling Angels lineup that has now dropped this series opener on the road. The Mets rolled into Cleveland and put up 6 runs behind a 3-homer attack, beating the Guardians 6-2. Luis Torrens was the story of the night, going 3 for 3 with 4 RBI and a home run, a monster line that also lands him among today's top fantasy performances, exactly the kind of streaming-worthy output that makes him worth a look off the wire. Bo Bichette and Carson Bench also went deep for New York, giving the Mets 3 homers on the night, while Sean Manaea cruised through 6 innings, allowing just 2 earned runs while striking out 7 to secure the win. Marcus Semien added a stolen base for good measure. Cleveland got things going with hits from Chase DeLauter, Travis Bazzana, Brayan Rocchio, Joe Adell, Stephen Kwan, and Angel Martinez, but the Guardians never found an answer for the Mets' power surge and settled for a quiet 2 runs on the day. New York controlled this one from the middle innings on, riding the long ball and a dominant start to move on with a comfortable road win. The Reds edged the Athletics 5-4 in a back-and-forth affair that came down to the bullpen, with Emilio Pagan closing it out for the save after Julian Garcia picked up the win with a scoreless inning of relief. Cincinnati got hits up and down the lineup from Elly De La Cruz, Sal Stewart, Matt McLain, Eugenio Suarez, and J.J. Bleday to build the lead. The Athletics pushed back behind Henry Bolt, who went 3 for 4 and also swiped a bag, a strong two-way showing that earns him a fantasy notable mention today. Lawrence Butler joined him on the base paths with a steal of his own, and Jeff McNeil, Alec Williams, Tyler Soderstrom, and Jacob Wilson all had hits, but Oakland came up just short. The loss extends the Athletics' skid to 5 straight, a rough stretch that continues to weigh down an offense that actually showed some life in this one. For the Reds, it's a much-needed 1-run escape that keeps their bullpen depth on full display and a tight late-inning finish. Jesus Luzardo was dominant, tossing 8 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts to lead the Phillies to a 5-0 blanking of the Nationals, a near-complete game gem that anchored Philadelphia's 4th straight win. Trea Turner powered the offense, going 3 for 4 with an RBI, a line that also puts him among today's top fantasy performances and a great streaming option for managers scanning the wire. Justin Crawford added a stolen base, while Brandon Marsh, Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott, and Luis Ariz all recorded hits to back Luzardo's masterclass on the mound. Washington, on the other hand, is in freefall. The shutout loss extends the Nationals' losing streak to 6 straight games, and their offense could only muster hits from Brady House, C.J. Abrams, Nason Nunez, and Harry Ford with nothing to show for it on the scoreboard. This was as complete a win as you'll see: dominant starting pitching, a stand-out performance at the plate, and a shutout that keeps the Phillies rolling while the Nationals search for answers during their worst stretch of the season. Ryan Weathers and the Yankees blanked the Cardinals 2-0, with Weathers firing 6 shutout innings and striking out 6 to earn the win before David Bednar locked it down with a save. New York's offense came from the long ball, as Jazz Chisholm Jr. and George Lombard Jr. both went deep to provide all the run support Weathers would need. Ryan McMahon, Trent Grisham, and Luis Garcia Jr. also chipped in hits for the Yankees. Louis put together a handful of hits from Nathan Church, Blaze Jordan, Pedro Paguez, Masson Wynn, Ivan Herrera, and Nelson Velasquez, but could never turn that traffic into runs against a stingy Yankees pitching staff. It was a tightly played, low-scoring game decided almost entirely by two solo shots and a strong start, the kind of pitcher's duel where every hit matters, but ultimately New York's power at the plate was the difference in a clean shutout win at home. The Red Sox put on an offensive clinic, blasting the White Sox 14-2 behind 4 home runs to extend their winning streak to 5 straight games. Will Abreu is the headliner, going deep twice in a 2-homer game that stands out as one of the best fantasy performances of the entire day, an emphatic statement line for anyone streaming him off the wire. Khaled Durbin and Jarren Duran also went deep, and both added stolen bases on top of their power, giving Boston a rare power-speed combo from the bottom of the order. Patrick Sandoval got the win after 5 innings of work, allowing 2 earned runs with 5 strikeouts, and Brain Bello closed things out with 3 shutout innings to preserve the rout. Wilson Contreras, Andrew Monasterio, Nick Sagard, Seth and Rafaela, and Masataka Yoshida all had hits as Boston's lineup hit on all cylinders from top to bottom. Chicago got contributions from Luis Angel Acuna, Randall Grichuk, Munetaka Murakami, Chase Maydroth, Carlson Montgomery, and Brenton Doyle, but had no answer for a Red Sox team that is red hot right now, riding this blowout into their 5th straight win and looking like the scariest offense in baseball at the moment. The Braves knocked off the Marlins 4-2 behind home runs from Ozzie Albies and Austin Riley, extending Atlanta's winning streak to 5 straight games. Grant Holmes was excellent on the mound, going 6 innings without allowing an earned run while striking out 5 to pick up the win. Michael Harris, Roman II, Matt Olson, and Ronald Acuna Jr. also contributed hits as the Braves lineup continued to click during this hot stretch. Miami stayed in it thanks to hits from Heriberto Hernandez, Jacob Marcy, Javier Sonoja, Kyle Stowers, Leo Jimenez, and Otto Lopez, but the 2 homers from Atlanta's middle of the order proved to be the difference. This was a well-rounded win for the Braves, strong starting pitching, timely power, and just enough offense to hold off a Marlins team that competed but ultimately couldn't slow down a club that has now won 5 in a row and is clearly playing its best baseball of the summer. The Royals cruised past the Twins 8-2 behind a huge night from Bobby Witt Jr., who went 3 for 5 with 2 RBI in a performance that also lands him on today's fantasy notables list as a standout, roster-worthy line. Randy Dobnak picked up the win after 5 innings, allowing just 1 earned run, and got plenty of support from a Kansas City lineup that also got hits from Salvador Perez, Michael Massey, Starling Marte, Kyle Isbell, and Jack Caglione, who also stole a base. Minnesota's offense wasn't quiet either. Royce Lewis put together a huge 4 for 4 night, and Josh Bell provided the Twins' only run support with a solo home run. Cody Clemens and Ryan Cradler each added stolen bases, and Luke Kershaw chipped in a hit, but Minnesota simply couldn't keep pace with Kansas City's balanced attack. Despite a strong individual showing from Lewis, the Twins fell behind early and never seriously threatened, dropping a game that showcased Witt's continued emergence as one of the game's most dynamic offensive forces. The Brewers beat the Pirates 4-2 behind a dominant outing from Logan Henderson, who struck out 8 over 6 innings to pick up the win, and Jackson Chourio, who went 3 for 4 with 2 RBI to power the offense. Chourio and Andrew Vaughn both homered for Milwaukee, and Trevor Megill closed it out with a scoreless inning for the save. Cooper Pratt, David Hamilton, William Contreras, Bryce Terang, and Luis Lara all added hits as the Brewers built a lineup that supported Henderson's strikeout-heavy performance on the mound. Pittsburgh answered with home runs of its own from Jacob Gonzalez and Andy Rodriguez, and Brandon Lowe and Jake Mangum also had hits, keeping the Pirates within striking distance most of the way. But it wasn't enough to overcome Henderson's dominance on the mound and Chourio's big night at the plate. This was a game defined by power on both sides, 4 homers total, but Milwaukee's pitching depth ultimately made the difference in a hard-fought divisional-style battle. Cubs beat the Dodgers 5-1 behind home runs from Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner, with Swanson going 3 for 4 with an RBI to lead the offense. Pete Crow Armstrong swiped 2 bags in the game, a performance that also earns him a spot among today's top fantasy notables for his speed-driven impact. Ryan Rollison picked up the win despite throwing just 1 inning, part of a Chicago pitching staff that held Los Angeles largely in check. Alex Bregman and Seiya Suzuki also had hits for the Cubs as the offense spread the damage around. The Dodgers For the Cubs, this was a complete win: power at the plate, disruptive speed on the bases, and just enough from the pitching staff to shut down a struggling Dodgers offense. The Rangers outlasted the Giants 5-4 in a game where Texas got multi-hit performances from 3 different hitters. Ezequiel Duran led the way, going 3 for 5 with 4 RBI and a stolen base, while Corey Seager went 3 for 4 and Brandon Nimmo added a 3 for 5 night with an RBI, giving Texas a deep and productive lineup all around the diamond. Jacob Latz picked up the win with a scoreless relief inning. Jake Berger and Nicky Lopez also had hits for the Rangers. San Francisco pushed back behind a home run from Oslevis Basabe and hits from Young-Hoo Lee, Drew Gilbert, Willie Adams, Bryce Eldridge, and Daniel Suzak, with Gilbert also swiping a bag, but the Giants came up just short in a game that stayed tight into the late innings. This was a slugfest decided by Texas's depth at the plate. 3 separate hitters with 3 hit nights proved to be too much for a Giants offense that fought hard but couldn't quite complete the comeback. The Astros handled the Blue Jays 7-2 behind a big night from Jose Altuve, who went 3 for 4 with 2 RBI to lead the offense, and a home run from Taylor Trammell. Hayden Wesneski picked up the win, going 6 innings and allowing 2 earned runs while striking out 4. Cam Smith, Christian Walker, Yainer Diaz, and Yordan Alvarez all added hits as Houston's lineup did damage from top to bottom. Toronto got hits from Andrés Giménez, George Springer, Miles Straw, and Alejandro Kirk, but the Blue Jays offense never found a rhythm against Houston's pitching. This was a comfortable, controlled win for the Astros, a strong day at the plate from their longtime star in Altuve, a big fly from Trammell, and a quality start that kept Toronto's bats quiet for most of the afternoon in a game that never felt particularly close after the middle innings. In the highest-scoring game of the day, the Rays outlasted the Rockies 9-7 in a wild back-and-forth affair that took nearly 3.5 hours to complete. Colorado got home runs from Mickey Moniak and Willie Castro, and Jake McCarthy went 3 for 5, while Cole Carrick, Hunter Goodman, Jordan Beck, Ezequiel Tovar, and TJ Rumfield all had hits in a lineup that put real pressure on Tampa Bay. But the Rays matched them blow for blow behind a homer from Liam Hicks and a stolen base clinic from Taylor Walls, Chandler Simpson, and Yandy Diaz that kept Colorado's defense scrambling all game. Garrett Cleavinger got the win despite throwing just 2/3 of an inning, and Brian Baker slammed the door for the save. Jonathan Aranda, Ben Williamson, Junior Caminero, and Cedric Mullins also had hits for Tampa Bay. This one had everything: power, speed, and constant scoreboard watching drama, and in the end the Rays' relentless base running and late bullpen work were enough to escape Colorado with a hard-fought road win. The Padres pounded out a 9-4 win over the Diamondbacks behind a trio of multi-hit performances, led by Manny Machado's monster 3 for 5, 4 RBI night. Jackson Merrill added a 3 for 5, 2 RBI game of his own, and Jake Cronenworth chipped in a 3 for 5 night with an RBI, giving San Diego 3 separate hitters with 3 hits apiece. Randy Vasquez was excellent on the mound, going 6 shutout innings with a strikeout to pick up the win, and Luis Rengifo and Xander Bogaerts each added stolen bases. Freddie Fermin, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Jake Cronenworth also factored into a deep offensive night for the Padres. Arizona answered with home runs from Nolan Arenado and James McCann, and Ryan Waldschmidt, Geraldo Perdomo, and Jorge Barroza all had hits, but the Diamondbacks' pitching simply couldn't slow down a Padres lineup clicking on every level. This was a statement offensive performance from San Diego's middle of the order, overwhelming Arizona with contact and power from top to bottom of the lineup. The Tigers rolled into Seattle and blanked the Mariners 8-0 behind a dominant pitching performance from Troy Melton, who went 7 shutout innings with 4 strikeouts to pick up the win. Detroit's offense backed him up with 3 home runs from Riley Green, Gleyber Torres, and Dylan Dingler, and 3 separate multi-hit games. Zach McKinstry went 3 for 3, Green added a 3 for 5 night with an RBI, and Colt Keith went 3 for 4 with 2 RBI and a stolen base. Spencer Torkelson also chipped in a hit for the Tigers as the offense clicked from top to bottom. Seattle's lineup managed hits from Randy Arozarena, Dominic Canzone, Cal Raleigh, and Julio Rodriguez, but could never dent Melton's near-complete gain effort and never got on the board at all. This was as dominant a road performance as you'll see, shutdown pitch paired with power and depth at the plate, and it sends the Mariners home with a lopsided deflating up in front of their home crowd. The Red Sox and Braves are both riding 5-game winning streaks after wins today, with Boston's coming via a 14-run explosion and Atlanta's behind Grant Holmes' strong start. On the flip side, the Nationals' shutout loss to Philadelphia extended their skid to 6 straight, and the Dodgers dropped their 5th in a row after falling to the Cubs. The Phillies, meanwhile, have won 4 straight of their own. Bill Iro was the fantasy headliner of the day, blasting 2 home runs in Boston's 14-run rout, a must-add line for anyone scanning the wire. Pete Crow Armstrong flashed his speed with 2 steals in the Cubs' win over the Dodgers, while Luis Torrens went off for the Mets with a 3-for-3, 4 RBI night. Trea Turner backed up his aces shutout with a 3-for-4 effort for Philadelphia, and Bobby Witt Jr. kept rolling with a 3-for-5, 2 RBI game for Kansas City. That's every game from a power-packed day around the league. Hit subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's recap.